Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and maybe good night, depending on where you are on this lovely blue planet of ours. Welcome to Shifting Impressions with Dr. Gretta Chamberlain, myself. Carol is not with us today. And of course, the Realm of Beings is always with us. Our quote for today is dealing with separation from another. And Carol is proving that by not joining us on this show, which means I now have to open it. And it's like, well, part of the quote is it's one of the challenges of being human in dealing with separation from another individual, a fond pet, a spouse, a friend, your child, or a relative. The separations used for this experience are many, such as death, illness, divorce, or removal by authorities. Okay, because let me get the other part of this long quote that the realm gave Greta. And some of the low vibrational emotions that can reverberate from this experience are sorrow, lack of joy, grief, loneliness, loss, and many more. Sometimes anger can be part of this as well. We encourage you to practice unconditional love of self and for the separated other and learn to deal with the absence. And that's what I'm learning to deal with today, the absence of Carol, who I know will be back with us next week. And yes, Carol, I'm speaking about you. But in any event, you guys are so lucky if you were in the New York, New Jersey area, even Pennsylvania, because Greta and I had a wonderful time at the New Life Expo in Florida. And we will be at the New Life Expo this Saturday and Sunday. Greta is doing 2 workshops. One is on Saturday at 1:00, and the other one is Sunday at 1:30. And they're channeled experiences and channeled workshops, and you're going to focus for change, people. Everything is going to be right there for you, live and in living color. And if you're lucky enough and you sign up and I let you go through, you'll get a free, well, they call them psychic readings. I call them free mini facilitations from Greta. So without further ado.
Wait a minute, Kathy, you forgot about yourself.
What about myself?
You're going to be giving us a talk as well in New York.
Oh, did I do that? That's the name.
Absolutely.
That's the name of mine. And mine is Saturday at 10:00. And we're going to be at the Wyndham at the New Yorker, Hotel New Yorker, 481 8th Street, between West 34th and West 35th. Booth 216. I'm going to play that number because I'm feeling lucky and I'm speaking into existence that we're going to get all our money back, Greta, for the hotel, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
You got it. So with that in mind, this quote I found very, very interesting, dealing with separation from another. But I am going to ask the realm, because the first thing that popped into my head were the mental equivalencies. When you're dealing with the loss or separation from another, you know, all the things they listed: a pet, you know, a spouse, a friend, a child, a relative, people getting clipped and, you know, handcuffed and taken away. All of the low vibrational emotions, but these low vibrational emotions of fear, not fear, sadness and lack of joy, cause diseases within the body. Those kinds of I shouldn't say physical challenges within the body, like sorrow and lack of joy is diabetes. Um, you can have experience when you don't have emotional or financial support, challenges with your back. I mean, they're endless, and we facilitate for people, Greta in particular, with people that have created because of separation or whatever, these physical health and mental challenges, and that's why we're here, because it's all about creation of reality. You do not have to create any of that, and we're here to talk about how you can avoid that, and if you've created it, how you can change your thoughts and change your reality. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greta.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, Kathy. At first I thought this when it was coming out. I said, "Oh my God, this is a long quote." And I found myself writing and writing because they were giving me, the information. Um, but I think at the very bottom of that quote comes back to what they've always, Kathy, been telling you and I on our personal levels in our personal life, and what we've been sharing with the audience all these years is that it's important for you to love yourself. You know, uh, for me to go down uh, you and I both have lost a spouse, so we know how that feels, you know. I think for me, I went through an anger phase. I was more angry than anything else, when my husband died. And I had, two losses back to back. I had lost my child, and then I lost my husband. So it was like, how do you deal with that? I didn't do very well with it, because after that, well, after I lost my child was where I really didn't deal with it very well. In fact, I embraced alcoholism as my solution because I really didn't have anybody to tell me that it's going to be all right, Greta. You can get through this. My husband was grieving himself, so he really wasn't there to really, help me. So it was a lot of emotional baggage, and it took a while for me to let it go. Without a doubt. It took in fact, let me not lie, it took years for me to let it go, because it's very heartfelt. So, and then to go in after, you lose your kid, and then, uh, what is it, 2, 3 months later, you lose your husband, then you're going from one thing to the other. So it was very challenging for me. So, how to practice unconditional love. There was no way I could. And nobody ever talked to me about unconditional love. I didn't know what that was. It's just recently we're beginning to, learn that, and we're beginning to push that. Kathy, I think you'll be in agreement with that. And
No, I will. I'm in agreement, but I was fortunate enough that when my husband made his transition, I had you.
mhm,
Prior to that, I did not. However, I do want to say that even though I even though I understood, or I thought I understood unconditional love, um, I found it still challenging.
mhm.
I went through the anger thing, and I don't want people to think, well, I guess because I love myself unconditionally, I didn't have any challenges, and I still did. And sometimes little things will trigger it. I remember
Mhm.
you saying that you were somewhere else 10 years down the road or down to 20 years down the line, and something happened that triggered your first husband, and
Oh
you
yeah,
began crying in the parking lot. You know,
right.
it's those little things. And I watched my mother grieve. I think I learned from watching other women in my family how they processed and managed it. A lot of times we hold things in, and
Mhm.
it may or may not be a good thing to do. You have to release a lot. But one thing I was determined, and I said this last week, that I was not going to do was to remain and stop living my life as a woman, okay, as a human being. I wasn't going to just stop my enjoying my life. And I'm not saying my mother did not enjoy her life till she left, and my aunts and all the other women. I just don't want to. I just decided I wasn't going to do that by not by myself. I just wanted to find another companion, to share and complete, my enjoying being a human before I transition and go into my portal and come back and do whatever I'm going to do. I did not want. I
Mhm.
did not want. I didn't want that part of. I didn't want that part of my life to end. I wasn't going to be like that. I was
Mhm.
worthy. I'm worth more than that. I wasn't going to let tradition and all that other kind of stuff, wearing black for 29 years. No, that wasn't going to be me.
It was interesting for me because I lost my husband. He was African. So, and I was living in Africa at the time. And they asked me, how do I want to mourn? We had to
Mm,
figure out, how is Greta going to mourn for her husband? Because he was McFory, which is a form of being Mandingo. And there was nobody there that knew how a Mandingo woman is going to mourn for her husband. Nobody was there. So they found the gentleman that I call Pa Gaba. Pa meaning, he was older than I am, and it's a respectful term for a gentleman who's older than you are that you look at as your father. And he was Bambara from Mali, which is so we decided that I would mourn according to a Bambara woman, and for 40 days. And it entailed me for the first 3 days wearing white, all white, and then for the rest of the 40 days wearing a bright blue color, bright blue. It was really almost like a royal blue, but very bright. But the one thing there is that they told me after 40 days, that's it. You don't mourn. They put a cap on it. Some societies don't put caps on it. Some society, cultural frameworks, you're walking around in black for the rest of your life because you're mourning the absence. So, but mine was 40 days, and part of that was that I had to give away anything that we shared together. Had to be given away. So it was really like a drastic separation for me. It's about separation that the grieving does not have to stay. But of course, when I came back, I did marry again. I came back to the United States, but I still, even though I went through that 40-day mourning period, I still, um, I still had those deep feelings, Kathy. Like you said, I went to Muntu is an African dance company here, African American dance company, but they do African dancing. So I went to their show, and at the end, the guy came out singing a griot, singing in Mandingo. And as soon as I heard Mandingo being spoken, it triggered it.
that's
That
what she said.
triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was triggered. I felt the tears swelling up, in my eyes. And then I went out after the show was over. I contained myself as much as possible after the show was over, but when I got in the car, I let it all out. And I'm going, oh my God. And you know how many years that was, Kathy? That was about 6 years later.
Wow. Yeah.
6 years later. So it means we can hold on to these things. And it's really, if you love somebody, you want to hold on to them and it's okay. But we've got to get to a point of letting it go and saying it's all right. It's all right that you left.
But I think sometimes it determines how the person leaves too. You know,
Absolutely.
because when I saw my parents suffering, 20 years with emphysema and the other one with, what they wanted to experience cancer, you know, even though I miss them, I don't remember like really like like just crying. But when my uncle, who had a massive heart attack, when I used to do a lot of family research with, when he had that heart attack, that was it for me. It was a shock. He was more like an older brother, and I couldn't process that. And even though with my spouse of 47 years, my husband for 47 years, it was I after the open heart surgery, he was like 45, it was like a constant waiting. Like, when is the shoe gonna drop? When is the shoe gonna drop? When is the shoe gonna drop? And it took a toll on my body. I wound up physically having two back surgeries, um, and other little, the things, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, and the stress. And I remember towards the end, I didn't want to see it, I didn't want to hear it. So what did I do? I created loss of hearing in the right ear, which is the male side. And of course, the cataracts that they told me take years to go. I never had cataracts. All of a sudden, I had cataracts because I didn't want to see him leave. But then when I made up my mind that I was going to go on, the mourning
Mhm.
period was done. All of a sudden, those cataracts that were supposed to take 30 years took less than 6 months. So they clipped my eyeballs, and it's an interesting journey. And for me, it was a hard journey. It was a hard turn to make. And I have to make sure I'm not comparing, the person that I'm with now with they're two different people. And just accept and love them unconditionally the way that they are. And sometimes you might have regrets. I question, did I love my spouse of 47 years unconditionally enough? You know, you wonder
Mhm.
what you could have done differently, what you could have created
Absolutely.
differently with the person. And that
Absolutely.
adds to it, things you may have said at your mother or to your dad. You
Hmm.
sometimes you filled yourself with regrets, but then you realize that they created for you to say those things and you created to support them and vice versa,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
But even though we speak that, Greta, sometimes it's still hard, not hard, sometimes it still takes getting used to, you know,
Absolutely.
wrapping your head around that we create
Absolutely.
this reality. And
Absolutely.
being humans, I forget and get caught up in the illusion of being, with everyone else.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's always around the time of the anniversary. How are you doing? And I said, now why am I creating for people to call me to see how I'm doing a year later or 2 years later? It's been 3 years. We're going to celebrate a birthday. He's not here. No, I don't want to celebrate the birthday. you
Hmm.
know, and that person doesn't understand. And then there are other members in your family, you know, that are grieving
Hmm.
in their way, and you have to handle them. But we're talking about death. But I mean, divorce, all these other forms of separation, we haven't really touched upon. But
Right.
some of the same emotions are probably going with through them. I've never been divorced, so I don't know. Never lost a child. I don't know.
I've had the experience of being divorced, and that was a very um, sad but yet happy because I knew I no longer fit with the person that I was with, and that it was time to make a separation, you know. Um, but sometimes that can be challenging as well because it's another form of loss, but it's a it's a form of loss that you have a little bit, you'll feel that you have a little bit more control over it.
And they're not dead. They're not, they're
Right,
technically still here.
right.
There's
And
a
see,
difference.
right. And see, like I've been married. Well, I'm not going to tell the audience how many marriages I've had, but
Well,
anyway,
see, I must be taking after you because I decided I'm not going to be by myself. Okay.
so the first divorce,
The first divorce. Look at the first
yeah,
divorce.
the first divorce.
The first divorce.
I wasn't, I was kind of happy about that.
He was kind of
Um,
happy about that.
yes. But I did not, I knew that he remarried. He had a child. I knew that. But only because it was ironic because one of the teachers, who was a speech teacher, happened to be working with his child with speech. And we were just talking one day, and she said, "Oh, I have his child on my list to help." I said, "My goodness." So I guess I created to know out of curiosity, what was he doing? Did I really, but I was getting ready to say, did I really make a wise decision? I think yes. Knowing what was going on in the marriage, that was the best thing that I could have done at that point. Now, my third marriage was with my daughter's father. And he and I, even though he's married, I'm married, but he and I are still friends. And that's the important thing. When I went into family court, we were in family court sitting together, and seeing couples that were, I mean, they couldn't even talk to each other. The lawyers were talking for them. And I felt that was so wonderful in that I got to see that I'm doing much better. At least that's how I judged it. And we're always talking about don't judge other people. But I had to judge that situation in order to compare where was I at, and when you have a child or children between that person that you're separating from.
It makes a big difference
Absolutely.
for the
And
child and for the parent.
absolutely. You want to leave the relationship peacefully as much as possible. And that is done through loving yourself first.
Okay.
It has to be. Because then uh the person that you're separating from is going to also support you in loving yourself. You see, so there's not going to be animosity between the two of you.
Yes. May we take a time for our break right now? I know it's a little early. So we'll be right back after this brief intermission. Well, welcome back. We are having a very interesting, heartfelt, and I hope intrepid listeners, or whatever you want to call, however you wish to identify, with the conversation that we have been engaging in. But I do want to remind you that if you would like to meet Greta or myself, we'll be in New York City at the New Yorker at the New Life Expo. This is our last one for the season. We won't be around until the fall, or maybe in the winter, and we'll be at the Conscious Life Expo back in California. So, in any event, Greta has a lecture on Saturday at 1 o'clock on what's reality, and I suggest you check it out. Check us out. Just come on; it's free. And also on Sunday at 12:30, excuse me, at 1:30, another free workshop, Focus for Change 2. So we give out a nice little raffle bag, and we're always packed. And of course, I'm speaking Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be my usual chippy self, and I'll be talking about, actually demonstrating my journey on how I learned I create my own reality. And it's a funny story, and everyone seems to enjoy it. Without further ado, Greta, any further things before we bring the realm on, or do I see the realm coming now? Hold on, let me look and see. Oh, I think it's the realm.
Okay, I'll go with that. I haven't even done it. I'm so busy listening to you.
Oh, okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Kathy. Bye. Yep. Mm, mm, mm. Hmm. Okay.
All right. No, I'm not going to ask if you're here because I know you are here. So I'm going to read the quote while you adjust your ethereal beingnesses, realm of beings. Um, is dealing with separation from another. In the quote that you gave us, or gave Greta, I'm going to say all of us, is one of the challenges of being human is dealing with separation from another individual, a fond pet, a spouse, a friend, your child, or a relative. The separations used for this experience are many, such as death, illness, divorce, or removal by authorities. Some of the low vibrational emotions that can reverberate from this experience are sorrow, lack of joy, grief, loneliness, loss, and many more. Sometimes anger can be part of this as well. We encourage you to practice unconditional love of self for the separated other and learn to deal with absence. So the description basically that you're telling us is to learn to deal with the loss of significant individuals in your life, no matter how they choose to create that separation between us.
Absolutely, Kathy, because um, part of the human construct is that you want to be with another person. That's the feeling. You want to be coupled with somebody because it's like humans are made for sharing loving experiences with each other. Although sometimes those experiences can become volatile because of the nature of their personalities. But if one individual holds with self-love, which we've been teaching all along, then the other person must support them in that loving of self. So then the relationship will change. Now, let's say that sometimes you'll experience a loss, like Greta was saying that one loss led her toward alcoholism, you see. So that was the way that she chose to handle that separation. That does not mean that we are purporting that everybody handle that situation like that. Some people handle it by even going into depression, because you were talking about that, Kathy. So what we'd like to focus on is, how do you not have to deal with those things? They're going to pop up because you're human, you know. You're going to lean toward the grief. You're going to lean toward the depression, because that's kind of like an innate part of being human. And at the end of our quote, we say, learn about the absence, learn how to deal with the absence, you see. We can say this: if it's a loved one, the absences are only temporary. Because when you move into your next transitional portal, you're going to create those beings over again. Because one, you haven't learned all the lessons yet. And two, you want them to be there with you, because they gave you a sense of comfort, you see.
Mm.
So it's things, a separation can be so traumatic for a person who is human, you know, like separation by way of the authorities coming and taking a loved one. Look, look how that played out in World War II, how people were taken, you see, and separated.
Playing out even today.
Absolutely. So, how does loving yourself, I know what people are thinking, how does loving yourself help with the person that you're experiencing the loss from? It can't go to that person, because it can only deal with you. And as Kathy said in the earlier part of the show, we heard you, Kathleen, when you said that going down into lower vibrations, going down into being in the uh, rabbit hole with that little character, Alice, and then getting with that little thing that hops around, the rabbit, you know, sitting down there and sipping tea is not going to help the situation. So sometimes it can be a fight to bring yourself back up out of it. You know, it's going to take courage as well to bring yourself up out of being in, notice what I'm saying, being in the loss. Because you're no longer, if someone came up and said, you know, I lost my dog who had been with me for 12, 15 years, and they were feeling very sad. You don't want to go into their sadness. You just want to say, I understand how you feel. Because if you go down into their sadness, you're giving more energy to them being sad. And not only that, but you're creating the same possibility for yourself, you see. So when someone is in mourning and someone is grieving over the loss of a loved one, regardless of what type of situation or how the loss came into being, the thing is just to say, I understand. Don't go there deep into that.
Well, there are people that I have met throughout my 70 years, might as well say 70 years, where they really cannot let go of that loss. If it was the loss of a child, or a spouse, it is a constant reminder. They live in that grief. And you could see where it just deteriorates their body, to the point where, um, you know, if you don't understand that you are creating to slowly drain yourself of your own vital essence, your own vital, what we call life, it's hard to be around people like that. It really is hard to be around people that it's like their loss is greater than anyone else's loss. And if you don't understand that, if you say something, they can get very nasty to other individuals because they want to pull you down into that sorrow and sadness with them. So it's like, who are you grieving for, yourself or for the person that you lost? Any comments on that? How to handle that?
Well, first of all, Kathleen, they're going to be grieving for both. It's not just one or the other, it's both. First, they're going to be grieving for their loss. Or sometimes we've known of couples that left the other couple in a great deal of debt, and the other person didn't even know that that was going to occur. So there's so many ways of leaving. So that in that, how did you leave that person? Did you leave that person loving you? Or did you leave that person saying, I don't want you anymore? You see, there are different types of leaving as well. So, but regardless of how the leaving occurs, the important thing is to continue to love yourselves. We cannot we cannot emphasize that too much to others. See. So the divorce, you can have an amicable divorce. You can have one that's a fighting divorce. But see, when you do that fighting, who is it helping? Nobody. But, and it's supporting you in hurting yourself. Supporting you and hurting yourself. See, through all this loss, through all this absence, regardless of how it occurs, it's important not to hold guilt, not to hold pain. I'm not saying for you to walk around giggling and being joyful. Oh, so and so's gone. Yay. You know, you know, we're not saying that, but we are saying be in a reflection of self and to say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay that this person and I decided to experience this absence because it's not just one person experiencing the absence. It's both of you experiencing the absence. It's both of you deciding how you want to experience the absence.
And it reverberates too, doesn't it, to the children
Absolutely.
and to the joint
Absolutely.
families. So, and everyone else is going to react differently to, some will stay close to the other person that they've left or whatever, even though it could be the brother of the person that they divorced, whatever. So, but yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what kind of methods can you use? We've been talking about the QDRs. You can always QDR sorrow. You can always QDR guilt by saying, I am experiencing, releasing all emotions and thoughts that support me in being in sorrow, support me in creating and maintaining being in sorrow. I love myself unconditionally. Notice that when you're getting rid of that, but at the replacement is always, I love myself unconditionally. That is what we want to emphasize to everybody today. When you go through this loss, yes, it's a loss. Yes, it can be painful. Yes, you can feel guilty. But you want to then transfer it into or transmute it into I love myself unconditionally. So you're telling yourself it's okay that I created and participated in this separation. You know, humans have that old adage called, it takes two to tango, you see. Or what is it, tangle or tango? Whichever one.
Yeah, it's both, but it takes two to make a thing go right. Also, that's another song.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and then sometimes the sadness can be a familial sadness that somebody in the family has passed on, and you have the whole family, all the relatives there sharing in this experience. But just because it's a collective experience does not mean that you have to be in the rabbit hole with it. We highly suggest for you to stay out of the rabbit hole as much as possible and honor yourself. And one way of honoring yourself is saying, I love myself unconditionally. So that is our mantra for today. I love myself unconditionally, regardless of what type of loss. Some people, their children are taken away from them. After, when they have the children, sometimes they're interacting with them in a way that is not necessarily acceptable. So the children have been removed. In actuality, the children have removed themselves, but regardless, the movement has taken place so that that individual then can go down into guilt or can even go down into anger. The only thing that can support you and not, I'm going to say it again, the only thing that can support you in not indulging in that situation is to love yourself. But when you feel that you've created something horrible, it's challenging for you to love yourself. So the main thing here also, Kathleen, is to note and to tell the audience that nobody can do anything to you, ever. It's impossible. Nobody.
Yeah, and I was also thinking, Realm, even though you talk about we need to be with other people, taking it out on a little deeper level. I remember I remember you speaking and Greta talking about her sitting in the car with a friend, and then you realize that neither one of you were there anyway, because we are just, I'm trying to remember, was it because we're energy or because we don't think we're alone, but we kind of are. We just exist by ourselves. Am I saying that the right way, or do I have it completely incorrect? Or am I not speaking it? It's like we're never alone, but
Absolutely.
I could think that someone is standing here with me. Let's say my daughter was here today, but she really, physically, I saw her, I created to see her, but I guess you can explain that better than I can, because that's all I remember is that we're not even really in this space because it's all an illusion.
Well, the thing is, even though you're talking in that illusion, Kathleen, we recognize that humans thoroughly believe that everything is real. So, because of that, when you are experiencing an absence of someone, you believe that that is real. Why? Because you don't see the person anymore. So if I don't see the person anymore, they're absent. Excuse us. If we have buried that physical body in the ground or cremated that body, but we don't see the body, we've gotten rid of it, then we think the person is gone. And that's inaccurate. The person is never gone, you see. You never die. Die is an illusion.
Is that why some cultures are more into, well, it's frowned upon, in my opinion, I could be wrong, in Western society, ancestral worship and things of that nature, like the ancestors are always with us, uh, from that cultural framework. That's how we feel. In other cultures, they're gone, they're dead, that's it.
Right. Well, see, I think you hit on something. And what we have not discussed here, and there's really not enough time to do that, but that is that your cultural framework is what's going to assist you in how do you handle the grief.
The separation, right?
Absolutely.
Watching, like I said, watching my grandmothers, watching my aunts, watching my own mother.
Absolutely.
They never fell apart.
But see, there are some other places, like in Africa, when Greta's husband died, they had to moan and groan, but they cried. They cried for about at least 15 minutes. The women, not the men, but the women, cried for her loss, you see. There was a friend of hers that she saw the woman a year later, and the woman asked about her husband because she was there in the market by herself. Greta was in the market. And when Greta explained to her, my husband has died, the woman, out of showing the empathy for her, right then and there in the market, cried. And not just simple tears either. There was a wailing that went with it. So people deal with their absences by way of their cultural framework, by way of how you were talking about how you handled, how your relatives handled that. And see, that's familial. So we have these other influences as well. But even with these influences, even regardless of the cultural framework of the individuals, it is still important for us to love ourselves through the entire situation. And with that, Kathleen, we as the realm of beings will be departing from you at this point.
And well, I know you read my mind because time is up. So let's bring our Greta back. And until we create to see each other again, live and in living color, or on the radio listening, we at Shifting Impressions would like to say thank you for joining us. And please like and share our podcasts and what we teach. Thank you so very much.
Bye, everybody.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multidimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.